Good afternoon, everyone. I am Boon Heng, market economist at Mizuho Bank. This is a brief video of our views on the latest reciprocal tariffs announced by US President Donald Trump this morning. Reciprocal tariffs have been revealed, but elevated tariff uncertainty has not been resolved. This includes the scale of economic damage from tariffs that remains highly fluid. For one, sweeping reciprocal tariffs on all countries do not necessarily preclude layers of additional tariff, be it based on products, industries, or targeted at countries more specifically. Admittedly, exemptions of reciprocal tariffs on some goods which are already subject to tariffs, such as steel, aluminum, autos, auto parts, energy, and other minerals not available in the US, is welcome relief that tariffs will not compound. But tariffs can and have been layered on. China's 34% reciprocal tariffs add to pre-existing 20% tariffs, bringing total tariffs on China to 54%, as clarified by Treasury Secretary Bessent this morning. And while China is the main target, it may not be the only one subject to additive tariffs, especially with Trump stressing that trade and security are inextricably intertwined. Second, whether reciprocal tariffs lead to a de-escalation of negotiated compromises that eventually lower tariffs all around, or a retaliatory spiral that sinks global trade is also difficult to determine. Treasury Secretary Bessent has warned trade partners not to retaliate, implying an escalatory response from the US. While the intellectual desire of most US trade partners is for the former, the speed and scale of Trump 2.0 tariffs, alongside US dismissive disregard for rules-based international dealings, inadvertently raise the risk of more adverse and undesirable outcomes from unfortunate diplomatic miscalculations. Notably, the threat of mounting US trade antagonism well beyond just bilateral trade, as security considerations feature with serious spillover of risks that simply cannot be ignored. Finally, it may be harder than it is widely appreciated to rectify and roll back reciprocal tariffs, given the opacity and complexity of reciprocal tariff computation by the US. Point being, the easy to agree to part of the tariffs, which is the import tariff imbalance, is the smallest component of reciprocal tariffs. And even the VAT component, while larger, is not the main source of risk. Instead, the overwhelming share of non-tariff barrier computations are opaque, determined on a suite of considerations that is neither easily quantified nor quickly unwound in a targeted, effective manner. Crucially, given the power leverage asymmetry vis-a-vis the US, highly debatable US assumptions, perceptions, couched as hard facts, will unfortunately be hard to refute for trade partners. Especially so, the complex suite of factors that have gone into calculating non-tariff barriers may not be so easy for most EM nations to unravel, as many of these factors involve entrenched and structural economic conditions. The upshot is that reciprocal tariff-led shocks may prove to be far more durable than optimists counting on a compliance-based unwind may be hoping for. Worse, not only will persistent reciprocal tariff exert sustained stress on trade, but may inadvertently be compounded by further US tariffs, retaliation, exacerbating vulnerabilities to adverse demand shocks. Let us take a look at who is the worst hit across various groups, with the baseline being 10% reciprocal tariffs. In ASEAN, Cambodia at 49% and Vietnam at 46% are hardest hit, with Vietnam's ramifications threatening to be amplified by hefty investment FDI channels. Thailand's 36% and Indonesia's 32% also feature prominently, followed by Malaysia's 24% and the Philippines at 17%. As for Greater China, Taiwan at 32% is worst hit, with China being obviously the key target, as 34% layers on 20% earlier to make for 54%. Korea is not off the hook either at 25%. As for allies, Notably, despite close diplomatic relations, Japan is not spared a 24% hit, nor is the EU with a 20% knock. Notably, despite PM Modi's close relations with Trump and his recent diplomatic visit, India is still hit with 26% in reciprocal tariffs. As for the baseline 10%, the UK, Australia, Singapore have skirted the worst with only 10%, which is the baseline reciprocal tariff, the lowest any country could enjoy, with existing treaties with the latter two likely to have held. On treaties, the USMCA implies that the Canada and Mexico have been spared additional tariffs under USMCA exclusions, but pre-existing 25% tariff liabilities, save for some exclusions, concessions on energy and compliant autos, apply, and may be the subject of USMCA renegotiations. There will be adverse demand shocks in Asia, and China plus one strategy will be challenged. Notably, Asia has been badly hit by reciprocal tariffs. Critically, assumed benefits for ASEAN from China plus one hedge strategies for global manufacturers are being severely challenged. Consequently, adverse income shocks will far outshadow inflationary risks in the region. This is as opposed to mixed lagged US demand impact. For the US, stagflation-type outcomes may precede what may ultimately still be more of an income shock. There will also be Fed-Asia policy tensions. Simply put, greater Fed restraint amid worries of inflation resurgence may be a sharp contrast against Asian central banks bracing for adverse economic shocks. In FX, the risk is that ASJ FX will be pressured as dovish policy divergence vis-a-vis the Fed, direct tariff hit, China policy effects, and FDI investments being curtailed conspire a bit likely differentiated for tariff hit and wider risks. For Asia FX, it may be underperforming even under tailwinds from a softer dollar, as we think that it is complacent, if not flawed, to assume that Asia x Japan FX will benefit equally and unambiguously from a weaker US dollar. For USDs, there may be a flatter USD curve as a knee-jerk reaction. There could be mild flattening bias owing to front-loaded price shock that gives way to income shock. We expect softer yields and a steeper curve further out. For now, yields may be sticky on the way down, limiting the depth of initial declines. But further out, more distinct downside could emerge on evidence of overriding economic headwinds. Along with this, a restabilizing of the yield curve as the Fed cuts feature. All in, it is Liberation Day indeed. On the receiving end, the experience is despair, if not despondency, as the weight of the US New World Order sinks in. For more information, please refer to our research publication or contact your respective sales desk and RMs. And for regular notifications on our market views, please subscribe to our channel and hit the notification button. Thank you.